On the 405, you got an officer right there running, a couple of officers running. Some people were saying he was still on the freeway. Look, he looks like, oh, he's trying to take over a pickup truck right there, out there in LAPD. Nice tackle, taking that, helping that suspect make the decision to go into custody right there after he tried to take over a looked like a lawn truck or a maintenance vehicle right there.
We did get a strike a few days ago on YouTube, and they shut us down.
Really?
Yeah.
What can you say what it was?
Yeah, it was.
You probably shot a few things from there.
Yeah, it was a video that was edited, and here I can show you real quick before we get started. But
oh man,
like I said, we already started the episode. This is our part of it.
I was gonna say,
but it was more of an educational thing than anything else.
I want to see this now. Now you got my curiosity going.
We're very vocal about takeovers here.
Okay. Well, Jeremy said you guys are legit. No, that's not. No. Oh man, look at that old Fox body style, man. Oh, good dude. Ooh, of course. Man, these people don't care. They don't care. I'm being serious. They don't care. And they're not car people.
Nope.
They're not car people. Those are, I'm gonna say it. People are gonna hate me.
Posers.
They're thugs and hoodlums.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you know what? Thug is actually that's a step up. These guys are just hoodlums, straight out hoodlums.
How do we look? We look good.
Oh wow, we're with tape
behind you.
Oh man, I can't see that. I'm an old man. I can't turn around.
That's why usually I put it up there so nobody stares at it because I know people.
I could.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get started.
Let's get going here.
All right. Ready? All right, everybody. Welcome back to Club Import Cars and Chatter. We're back here at the beautiful Straight Auto Body Shop. Thank you for everybody tuning in on the last episode. Thank you to South Bay Auto Works. So if you need any carbon stuff, make sure you guys go on their website and use code Club Import. Today we got a special guest. Stu, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I'm Stu.
And of course we have Caesar back, but
Caesar,
everybody.
Hey,
yeah, he's been off for a minute now.
I've only been here for a few minutes, and he seems off.
Yeah,
I had to work.
Yeah,
I missed like the last 2 episodes.
Really?
Or 3.
And I couldn't do it without my co-host. I have a little podcast too. I couldn't do it without.
I saw that. I saw it actually today before you got here.
Okay,
it popped up on my feed.
Oh wow.
What is it called? The Sky.
It's Sky Snitch. It's the Gray Spot. Sky Snitch is our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And my little show is called Gray Spot.
Oh, that's cool.
We talk about things that are in the gray area. Like is it legal? Is it not legal? Is that right? Is that wrong? You know what I mean? It's the stuff that's kind of in the gray area.
Absolutely.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
It does.
We're still finding our ground. Like I envy you guys because you've got topic and content. I heard the intro. You're car people. You're talking about imports. You're talking about cars. And mine, it's kind of like, like we had a great photographer on there yesterday. Never met the guy before. Just was on Instagram, and I was really shocked because a lot of the younger people, like you're the stuff you're talking about, like a lot of the younger people, I'm worried. You know what I mean? You see it on the internet, it's all, and again, I'm not anti-woke, but when you get extreme, when you get extreme, then I'm like always like, and you see it on the internet and everything's extreme,
Yeah.
You got all these crazy woke people, you got all these kids that are running around and doing all this stuff, and you worry. But then I met this 22-year-old, and this guy, he's a photographer and self-made, and the stuff he's whatever it is, he has it, and respectful, polite, interesting, well-spoken, and I was just like, wow, it's like if you are the sample of 22-year-olds, I'm not worried anymore. Anyway,
cool. Well,
and then you see another video, and then you're worried again. You're like,
yeah.
Well, Stu, a lot of people know you mostly because of
my car chases.
You want to tell us a little bit?
You know, look, I wish I could do more. I'm being serious about that. I wish I could do more. Right now, I'm at Fox right now. I was at another station earlier. I'm still kind of like, you know, I don't want to piss my bosses off. You know, like whenever I do anything like this, it's always kind of like ask for forgiveness, but I don't want to get too far. So I was at another station. I don't know, I can't remember who they were, but I was working the PM shift there, and there was a lot more chases, and it was early in my career when I still get a little nervous when you go live, but I mean, I was to the point where when I was in the helicopter and whatever the story was, we'd go live and I would fog up the windows inside the helicopter from all the heat coming off of me because I was that like anxious and nervous, and you don't want to mess up. But then there was the big moment was Carmageddon. You guys remember Carmageddon when they took down the bridge on the 405?
405, yep.
So it's a weekend. Everybody's working overtime. Everybody's up. Bored is all get out. I'm not going to swear, but you know, and we're bored. Everybody's bored. It's like they're tearing down a bridge. Who cares, right? You know, we're getting the shots of the people skateboarding. I mean, that's the most exciting thing. And then I hear on the scanner there's a pursuit. You know, so I'm like, hey, desk. You know, because I can't just go. Everybody thinks it's like I got free reign of the sky. I work for people.
Yeah.
I got a paycheck. You know. So I was like, hey, desk, come on, it's a pursuit. Let's wait, it's a pursuit. Anyway, they let me go. And it turned into this crazy long pursuit. I mean, it was like one of those pursuits where we went and landed, got gas, got back up and resumed it. Damn. You know, that kind of long. And it was just the right amount. It was like little fast, little edgy, you know, and, it was like a duck to water, man. I just was like, you know, I didn't even think about it. You know, I'm just doing my thing. And, you know, you get praise, and the praise makes you, you know, it does two things to some people. Some people get a big head. Some people are like, you know, oh man, I'm this. And like with me, the praise just made me want to do better. The praise was like, okay, you guys like this. I'm going to give you more of this. Nice. And it just kind of took off from there. And yeah, we saw crazy stuff. I got comfortable, and really, it's like in the helicopter, like this right now. I'm not saying I'm uncomfortable. You know what? You guys are crazy gracious, super cool. You know, I'm stoked to be here. But you know, when I'm in the helicopter, that's my spot. You know what I mean?
That's your comfort zone.
Yeah. You know, and you know, in the back in the day, you don't know. That's why I'm telling you these stories. You know, we at night. So I'm in the back of the helicopter. I got all my gear. That's the other thing too. So I run the camera. A lot of people don't know that. It's like, so I'm the camera guy. So I got all my gear. I'm doing my thing. It's dark, and you're like a DJ in the DJ booth. You know, nobody really sees you. They just hear your voice, and they look at your product. You know, like a DJ puts out the music. I'm putting out pictures, and it was just perfect. And then the next big one was one night we had one that went past 11:30, and that was like the first time they were like, hey, we're going to put you on the internet. We're going to put you on Facebook Live, you know, and I'm like, oh, cool, you know, and it's like now I don't have my bosses looking over my shoulder, you know, it's not, you know, and I even said so. I remember it. I was like, hey, we're on the internet. I'm going to loosen my tie, and I'm going to grab that, you know, glass of whiskey, and I'm going to put my feet up, and let's talk pursuit, you know? Yeah. And that was the one with the woman that got naked in downtown, tried to get into a nightclub and was doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, it was the perfect internet pursuit. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And then that really was just, that was the next big step, you know, like, so I got in with pursuits, and then I kind of got in with this internet crowd, and yeah, it was a great ride. And now it's, what's that Pursuit channel or whatever? It's Tubi or something. There's some channel that has, that's playing all my old pursuits.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's cool. And it's funny because a lot of production companies would get a hold of me, and and this is how it would go. This is how it would go. And, I make fun of it. Not that I'm making fun of any of these people, but everybody thinks it's like they came up with this idea. So, like, I get a phone, I get a text or whatever, and I wind up talking to them. And they're like, hey, we got this idea, all right? What we're going to do is we're going to play video of pursuits, and we're going to have you narrate them. And I'm like, wow. That's a great idea,
With that.
How about that, right? And then, it does whatever it does, and it never sells. And I think somebody got wise, and they're like, why do we got to pay this idiot to talk about it when we got his voice on tape? We'll just play it. So that's kind of what happened. So but apparently they're playing it a lot, and I get a lot of love from that too, which I appreciate. That really is the give back for me. Is I'm entertaining people, and I know they're entertained.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people see it that way. You said something in the beginning. I think it goes across in any industry or in anything anybody does. You either get a big head, or you stay humble and you appreciate what you get.
Yeah. Yeah, and is it a conscious decision? I always kind of wonder that too, because I see it in my industry. Is it a conscious decision? Are you consciously saying, all right, I'm not gonna do this, or is it just because I don't think I was, I'm not Zen. You know what I mean? I like to pretend I am, but I'm not Zen. I'm just me. And I just really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the feedback. I really enjoy it. I do. When people write funny stuff to me, I laugh and I love it, and sometimes I even think, oh, I got to use that. You know what I mean? And I'll tell them too. I said, man, if you hear me say that, it came from you.
That's pretty cool.
So
Gotta make them feel special. That's for
yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, when we had Jeremy here, we were talking, and I think he even mentioned you on the episode. And he's like, well, why don't you get him on here? I was like, dude, I probably feel like we're probably going to talk to about 20 lawyers before we get him on.
No, not a chance.
And then, I think I reached out to you last week, and then Jeremy was like, here's his number. Just go ahead and talk to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's pretty awesome.
Sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
So,
But tell us a little bit about more as far, he did say you're a car guy at heart. Tell us a little bit about. You did say you had a dealership or something.
I had a body shop back in the '90s, but my car stuff is, I just love the people, and it's kind of the same thing. You don't know. That's why I'm telling you the story. I'm tired. That's my fallback. That's my fallback, and I always try to talk myself out of it. Really young me, living in the valley. I'm 16, 17 years old. High school dropout. My mom will be the first to tell you I had all my credits and all my points. I just decided not to go. And I was working at Sam's U Drive. It's gone now, but it was this big rental company. It was big. And I was always working on cars. I was building hot rods. I was the Glen Oaks and Peoria kid back in the day. I'm going to say it. People are going to argue about it. I had an 11-second daily driver, 68 Camaro. And I was built, back then I didn't appreciate things that I had like that. I mean, it was a fast car. I loved it. 68 Camaros are beyond that is my car. But then I saw this Nova, and I had to have the Nova. Then I had to have the 70s split bumper Camaro. But anyway, where I was going with this was, so I'm working on cars, and I work with a lot of, Hispanic people, and one of them one day said something about his lowrider, and I said, I'll take a look at it. It's a Chevy, so I would go down there and I work on his car, and I met all his buddies and everything. And it was, that's the thing. I was never that kid where I'm like, oh my God, are you gang members? I'm scared. I was never that guy. But to go down there and then kind of win their respect almost, or have them go, hey, look, this, they nicknamed me Shaggy because I looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo back when I was a kid. So anyway, but yeah, so I met those guys, and then I met biker dudes. And the one thing that I learned is, if it's an engine, it's a car, it's a vehicle, the people that really love the car life, they don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care. It's like, you could be this guy or that guy, but if you guys have this in common, everybody gets along, and they're and car people are always the most willing to help and give. You see somebody on the side of the road broken down, especially if it's, maybe it's just your car, you know what I mean? Or some kind of classic. And my thing is always, it's like, I don't want to pull over because I don't want them to think, who's this Yahoo that thinks he can help me because, my 70 Corvette's overheating, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But, I'll pull up and say, hey man, you need some help. At least you do that. So.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%.
It's like you get this like initial respect.
Yeah.
Like within the car community, it's really a nice thing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. I wanted to ask you about one specific question. I think Jeremy told me about it. I just don't. You got to give me a few minutes to recollect.
All right.
But I'll come back to it. I had it on top of my head.
How nervous he is about it, and how excited he is about the question.
Before you drove up, I was thinking about the question. And I had it on top of my head, and I'm like, I didn't start scrolling through Instagram.
I know this is a podcast, and it's I guess we don't do it live. You just put it out.
Correct.
Man, I got to tell you, I am sorry. I really am sorry that I.
No, don't be,
dude. I totally forgot. I picked up my phone. I saw it. I just got back in the car and I saw it and I was like, oh shit.
Don't worry about it. The shit happens. We all have lives. We all work, and you work earlier than most people.
I'm up at 3 a.m. So.
Oh Jesus! And the hangar is the one in Burbank.
No, it's in Van Nuys. We fly out of Van Nuys. Yeah, that's cool. But I live in downtown. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, downtown's awesome. By the way. So what about you guys? What are you driving?
We both drive the same car, unfortunately.
What, you're a couple?
No. He's too short for me.
I'm just playing.
Oh, we met because of our cars.
Yes. We did meet because of our cars. I drive a 17 Infiniti Q60.
Okay.
Same thing.
Infiniti?
But, yeah, we've been...
Expensive Nissan? I had to.
Don't worry.
You're right.
You're right. I mean,
the new Nissans look better inside.
The Ultima's getting a lot of love lately. You've seen all the
Infiniti's getting no love at the moment.
But like there's a whole websites that make fun of the Ultima, but then it's like that you see them doing all these crazy stuff, and then like even people are like, "What's wrong with it? Why is that a bad car?"
Yeah, a lot of the misconception is because here's one thing I'll say: a lot of these blog websites out there. Doesn't matter whether it's a Nissan, Infiniti, Mercedes, BMW, they always have to say something bad, right?
Bad is going to get you. Bad is the low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely. And that's what gets everybody to, chew on it.
Yeah.
So that's the way.
Everybody talks bad about Teslas, but they're great cars.
Teslas?
Dead silence. No, he hates them. That's why.
You know what? Look, you know what? It's funny. So Tesla, all right? Tesla. Huge respect for Elon Musk.
Absolutely.
Right? Huge respect for the car. I'm just like, you know what? You did it. You did it. You broke the barrier. You are the guy. You have all these big corporations couldn't pull their, I'm gonna swear because it's your podcast, couldn't pull their shit together, right? And then this guy shows up that
makes it happen.
Yeah, makes it from PayPal. And hires a couple of people, and builds this car that's is a corporation now.
Absolutely.
Would I buy one? I'm going to go with a no still, and I can't tell you why.
I mean, I wouldn't buy one either. That's why I lease.
See, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm leasing one, so it's different.
See, but I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't tell you why I wouldn't want to buy it.
We're sitting inside of a body shop, and I'm not going to say who said it or what body shop said it, but they actually showed me a Model 3. And he goes, you want to see some interesting facts about this car? I go, absolutely. Shows me the steering wheel. It's from a Jeep.
Yeah.
Shows me the seat. It's from an Acura. It's all recycled parts on the car.
I don't know about recycled.
Well, parts that weren't
say
used.
They were brand new.
Yeah.
But again, that's what I'm saying is like, what's wrong with that? Back in the day, probably before your time, AMC, when it was a car company standing by itself, that's what it was. You had you had your Ford engine and drivetrain, but then you had your Chevrolet steering column and GM locks, and it was like a big mishmash of parts. And but they were building cars out of it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just, to me, to me, a car has to have some kind of a soul. A soul to me is the engine. I don't care if it's a 4-cylinder, 2-cylinder. It could be a 1200cc MG. I could care less, but it has to have some kind of a soul. That's the way I see it.
You know what? That's interesting. I will actually put that into my, when next time I'm in an electric car, I'm going to be like, does this car have a soul?
I just don't. I've driven, what was it, a P90D,
Don't know
which
what
is
that
a
is.
Model S.
Okay.
At that point, I was at the dealership in Oxnard, and they were like, you got to put some miles on this car. I was like, okay, why? It doesn't have an engine, doesn't need smog or anything. They're like, just put some miles on it. I was like, okay. The car had 150 miles. And from my house to Oxnard was about 62 miles.
Okay.
So I drove that car home, plugged it in. My house has a charger. Don't ask me why. Plugged it in.
You're meant to have a Tesla.
Huh?
You're meant to have a Tesla.
No. Plugged it in. The next morning, it had 180 miles. Now, here, I'm going the opposite way. It was a slow charger. I don't know.
Okay.
So now I have 180 miles.
Oh, I say, okay, when I thought the odometer was changing. You're saying your drive time.
Yes.
Your
drive time.
your battery life.
Yeah,
Your battery life.
Yeah. So now I'm driving back. Now, the difference now is I got more hills to climb versus to coming home, but going, I have more hills to climb. I literally got back to work with like 10 miles left on the battery. Made no sense to me.
It's the same with gas motors.
Yeah, you
Went
gotta put
uphill.
gas
You're
in
gonna
it. You're going to burn more gas uphill. Yeah, he's right.
I drove my car from Oxnard to Sunland 4 days straight without having to fill it back up.
What about, okay, all right.
But you had a full battery. The Tesla didn't have a full battery.
Yeah. All right, we'll shift a little gear here. Let's okay. So Tesla, we're like, meh. What about the electric Hummer? I like
That's
just saying
ugly.
that. Electric Hummer.
That's just ugly.
I think it looks cool.
Dude, I think it looks cool. It looks like Star Wars came to life, you know?
It's not for me.
It's got the crabbing, you can drive sideways.
I mean,
All the commercials, they got babes in them.
I've
You
only
know?
seen
I haven't
one
seen
on
a
the
commercial actually.
road. I've only seen one of them on the road.
What? I've seen a bunch of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And I don't think it's the same one over and over again. I think there's a bunch of them out
No,
there.
I do see a lot of Cybertrucks now.
Yeah,
My
I'm
neighbor got
not a
one.
fan of the Cybertruck.
I haven't decided if I like it or not.
No, really?
It's a little weird for me.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I kind of look at that's the thing. It's like I look at that Cybertruck and I look at the Tesla, and then you got to think to yourself, it's like, all right, so what? 1900s, you got these gas engine cars driving around, and people are looking at them, and they're like, "What the heck is that?" But then, 2-3 generations down the road, people are like, "Wow, this is awesome! This is the first. This is cool." And check out the edginess on the truck, and just so who knows? You just don't know.
It's either you like it or you don't.
I saw a meme the other day. It said that the Tesla Cybertruck is a, what was it? Pontiac Azteca
Yeah, I saw that
those
too.
things were-
Yeah.
That thing was hideous.
with PlayStation 1 graphics.
Those things were ugly. I remember my neighbor had one. I'm like, who designed this thing?
I mean,
You know what? I'm jumping back and forth because that's what I do, man. It's like my brain can't
We
stay
love
on
it.
one track.
That's how we are,
You were
trust me.
talking about the Teslas and how the steering wheel's out of Jeep and the seats are. The original one is a Jag, right? The
Yep.
original one's a Jag. So
Yep.
the body was something else too. So
I mean, I personally, the styling wise, I like the X and I like the S.
okay,
I don't like the 3, I don't like the Y, and I don't like the, Cybertruck, I'm 50-50. But as far as looks wise go, and any electric company, I do like the new, what is it called? The Xiaomi? It's a Chinese company.
I don't know this one.
Well, I think they're barely coming out, right?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
might be
they're
too
barely
new
coming.
for me.
So
The last one I know from China is Lucid.
I like Lucids. They
Yeah.
look good.
Those
But
are
after seeing the Xiaomi,
Yeah.
looks decent. It looks like a Panamera.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. It actually looks
What about
decent.
Fisker?
Aren't they going bankrupt again?
Yeah. I bought a bunch of stock, so they're going to go bankrupt.
Jesus.
I did. I threw some money at them. They were going up again, and I was like, "All right, Fisker coming back for the win." Yeah, and I don't know.
The
Yeah.
Rivian's pretty cool.
The what?
The Rivian truck is pretty cool.
Oh, I read a report about a Rivian,
But
and
they'd
it's
be
not,
losing money with
Not
every
so good.
car.
Yeah,
supposedly every car that they sell, they lose anywhere from 100 to 160,000.
It's not even worth that much.
I was gonna say, you sure? That sounds a little high.
It was on Automotive News Weekly.
I don't know, man. That sounds.
I know they lose money per car, but I don't know if it's that much. But
Yeah.
they're pretty dope though.
Yeah,
They're
nice.
coming out with the new one too, like a new rugged.
Don't they look like that Will Smith movie? Remember the
iRobot?
iRobot. Don't they look like the robots from iRobot? Every time I see it, I'm just like, man, I don't know.
I'm kind of interested now. I gotta.
So
Look.
here, you guys are car guys. You guys are car guys.
How much money does Rivian lose per car?
Okay, how much?
And it's like the top first search on
Google says.
Google says. I'm sorry, 43,000 per vehicle.
Sounds
That's
right.
still kind of high. How are they losing that much money? That seems.
I have
low.
no clue.
can't
How
mass
can they
produce.
stay in business?
The thing is, I think they had a lot of issues with a lot of cars, so they had to like refix and
Yeah.
recalls and all that stuff. So they're trying to make up all that stuff that they lost. And
Well, their last update, over-the-air update, actually disabled the cluster, the screens, everything on the vehicle, and so owners couldn't even drive the car. Or well, they were able to drive it, they just didn't know how fast they're going or where they're going.
My
One
Dodge did that.
one time my
Dodge did
screen
that.
didn't turn on. I'm like, I wonder how fast I'm driving.
See, I mean,
Just go by the noise. Just look at the other cars
I
around
was
you.
just following traffic.
Yeah, there you go. There you
or
go.
you know, we can call up Stu and say, "Hey, can you?"
Yeah.
I mean,
You use the Sky Fox. We'll use that
Next time
speedometer on you.
I see the helicopter, I'm like, hey, I know him.
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go. Now, I had. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
I remember the question.
Uh-oh.
So I asked him this question. So on Skyfox or any chase helicopter that you watch, it shows the speed.
Right.
So how is the speed determined? Is that the helicopter speed or is the vehicle speed?
You know what? I'm going to tell you because I kind of know. And then you're going to be like, dude, no way. And I'm going to be like, yeah, way. Hang on.
Some inside scoop right here.
It's just iced tea, guys. Just letting you know. It's just
That's
iced tea.
fine.
No,
Don't judge.
Yeah. So it's all math, believe it or not. But really, truly, the satellite imagery and all that information has become so high tech and perfect. I'm not even playing that the helicopter knows how high we are and what the altitude, like what the roads are, right? So it is doing the math of, basically from the camera length, it does that triangle. you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
That's what it's doing. It's doing the triangle, and that's how it figures out the speed. But it's the altitude, and it's not our movement. It's going by that, and it also has something to do with altitude. I mean the ground. So if you ever watch on the chases, this is how you know it's legit, because I was like, what? And then I actually saw it happen. So if they go over a bridge, all of a sudden the speedometer is going to go nuts because the ground dropped out. You see what I'm saying? Like the bridge goes up and the ground dropped out, and they don't have compensation for the road going up. So it only knows what the terrain is. But as soon as that altitude changes, like the numbers on the speedometer go bonkers. So it's all tech and math, really, truly. That's really what it is. It's not the speed of the helicopter. Back in the day, before we had all those toys, that's what I did. I had I had a program that was, you see, that's the other thing too. So you got to remember, it's like we're in a helicopter. Back in the 90s when I started, 2000s when I started in that helicopter, we had Thomas guides, and that's how we got around, So if they gave us an address, we were like literally flying around, and we're like, okay, that's La Brea, so we got to go 3 blocks this way, and then you're counting, and then we're trying to read house numbers, to find, unless it's something, if the thing's on fire, yeah, we can find it. But if we're just looking for an address, now it's all just tick, 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 and everything's on a screen, and it gives you a heading, it drops a little pin out there, and it just knows. But between those two, there were programs on the iPad, which also is kind of interesting because they made it illegal in the United States, but it was called Motion X. And I think it was actually out of New Zealand. I don't know why they had a problem with it, but that was the greatest thing because, so you had your iPad, you could literally put in an address, and I would have all the information. I could tell the pilot, hey, fly this heading. And, we're this far out, and basically I would look, and then we could figure out where it's going. But it also had the speed of the helicopter. So when we were chasing somebody and we were literally paralleling it, I could say, well, Skyfox is going 120 miles an hour. So, This guy's going right. He's in the triple digits.
That's cool.
Yeah. They're all little games. You know what? I got car guys here. I got some for you. That was the question you had? That was what you wanted to know?
I always wondered. I was like,
really? I thought it was something like,
I'm sure
like what shampoo I use or,
What he uses for his beard. Something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
What I'm using on the beard.
Don't talk about beards. I'm kind of sad right now.
Why? Did you shave it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry.
No, well, it was way before it was like down here.
Good for you.
So.
Yeah, I brought mine down too. You got to look respectable. So, you go on the internet. Everybody here is internet. I'm sure everybody out there is internet too. And like what I've been seeing lately is all these 10 best lists. You know what I mean? Or 10 worst lists, because they really are. They're always, they always, like you said, it's always you want to throw out a negative out there. And it's cars, And what I noticed is, everything, you guys are driving some Japanese cars, but anything other than a Japanese car on these lists is crap. BMW is crap, Mercedes is crap, Porsches are crap, any American car, oh God, don't even get me started. Oh, heaven forbid you bought a Mopar. What is wrong with you? Did the wheels fall off? It really, they do this, but then it's like, oh, but if you have a Toyota, number one car, Toyota Camry, the number two car, the Nissan Altima. No, actually, no. Ultima actually fell off the list, and then why? Because it's not a Japanese car anymore. It's owned by the French.
Yeah.
Right? So it fell off the list. But, the Honda and the Toyota are always like, those are the cars, that's the car you want, and it's not like an 81 Accord. It's like, and I'm like thinking to myself, who's making these lists? Who's making these lists, man? I bought a brand new Dodge truck in 2016, put over 100,000 miles on it. Only thing I did on it was the brakes.
Wow.
I changed the oil. You know what I mean. But it never broke down, wasn't burning oil. Nothing was wrong with that truck. The only reason I got rid of it is because I'm stupid, because all my friends were like, oh, it's on 100,000 miles. This Mopar is going to blow up tomorrow. What are you doing? You count your blessings, And then a nicer one showed up. I got the 2020, the ones that you see now with the big giant screen.
Yeah.
And
Those are pretty bad.
Yeah, and I bought that car sight unseen pretty much at Galpin. It was used. It was during the COVID, and I literally never even opened the door. I saw the price, and I was like, I can afford that. And I went and started doing the paperwork. And when I got in it, I was like, what the hell did I buy? That thing is like, it reminds me of like the Lincolns back in the day, like all black leather. And I mean, the thing was beautiful. But then I moved downtown. But anyway, bottom line is, I haven't had those problems. I haven't had those. Who are they interviewing? Who is complaining? And then sometimes when you listen to these guys talk, they'll be like, and one customer said he had a squeak and they tried 10 times to fix that squeak and they couldn't. And I'm thinking to myself, what? How are you going to write off an entire car? Not just that car, but all of those cars, like all of the Mopars, because somebody had a squeaky car.
Oh man, that's more of. Yeah. I'm being in the auto industry myself.
Right.
I see, people like, let's talk about the squeak for a second. You will have customers come in complaining about a noise, and, they go on a test drive. The technician goes on a test drive with the customer. They come back and, we ask the technician what's wrong with the car. Her sunglasses were loose in the sunglass holder.
That's awesome.
I believe you. I believe it, and this is what I'm saying. But see, that's the thing. It's like somehow... I think I'm gonna say it. Propaganda. I really think it is. I think people are getting it's like somehow somebody is pulling the strings from behind and it's being basically like, anything but Japanese. And if it's Japanese, you need to buy it, but if anything else, don't buy it. And they people listen to this stuff and they believe it. And I'm just like, think for yourselves.
Yeah, there was a report that came out, I think it was maybe a couple of months ago, that said BMW is actually the world's best car right now.
Well, according to them, BMW is terrible. That you'd be better off with the Toyota Camry
or top
Mercedes
manufacturer or something.
I don't know, man. I don't like it when they bash on vehicles that, clearly to me is for no reason. It's like, give me something other than, well, data shows. What data?
Because, nowadays everybody just is visual.
Right.
They see something, they believe it. If it's out there, then it has to be true.
Or they go on the forums and people just, talk bad about stuff all the time too.
Right.
Like our platform, oh my God, the things people say is bad.
Facebook, back in the day, we actually had actual forums, like websites.
Right, yeah,
you go on it, talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. Now there's Facebook group pages for all manufacturers' cars, and it's people like yourself and myself and him can actually own it, right? It's, the funniest thing to me is when somebody says, well, my car didn't tell me I need to do an oil change. What? How many cars have you owned? Well, my last car told me every 3,000 miles I had to do an oil change. Okay, do the same thing on this.
Right, yeah, I was going to say. But
no common sense.
It's common sense. Yeah, it's a lot of commmen sense. But then again, it also goes to what we were talking about before we went live. It's like there's this gap in the generations, where for some reason, the only thing I can say is, maybe a lot of the guys out there didn't have a father figure or whatever it was, but they didn't teach them all the things that we take for granted, like changing a tire, doing your own work on your car, I mean, yeah, I can tell you I was curious and blessed and, determined. I was building I have a best friend of mine, and we were talking about this a while back, and he basically says to me, he goes, I was thinking about it, back in the 80s, you basically built like the original 388, stroker motor without even really knowing it. You know what I mean? I built it because I heard, and this is the thing too. I'm not saying I came up with it, because anything that can be done has been done. I'm going to, it is. It's, you might not know about it, but I'm telling you, somebody else had that idea.
Absolutely.
And I remember back in the day, I had this, I had a 350 and a 400 crank, and I was like, we should, I'm thinking, well, what makes this a 350 and what makes this a 400? And then I remember putting it all together, and it was too tall. The pistons were popping out of the block, right? And this is back in the day, okay? This is, and so I'm like, well, how do we get shorter rods? You can't make a shorter rod. So then I was talking to some guys at a machine shop, and, this guy says something about that, and he starts talking about race cars, and he's like, what you need is a 5.7 rod. And this isn't the 5.7 meaning like the 5.7 liter. It's the size of the rod. And I was like, well, where do you get that? He goes, well, any PAW, just go. And I went, and sure enough, there they were. I put one on there. I remember being in my garage, and I turned the crank, and I was like, yes.
Perfect.
Yes, And, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's like, kids today, they just don't do that. They don't even want to do that. Nobody wants to drive. When I was, I was 16 at the DMV, Time for my license. Let's do this.
I think I got my license. No, I got my permit at 15.
Yeah, 15 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that anymore.
And this is the thing. Why not? What is wrong?
It's like none of my nieces, only one of my nieces has their license. One of the rest of them are like, oh, I don't want to drive. I'm like, go get a damn car.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we moved to Germany, my dad had to go take his driving test, and Germany back then in the 90s was very strict as far as driver license.
Wo ist deine Papieren?
I forgot the language a long time ago.
That means where's your papers?
But, I remember I was a kid and we were in line, and my dad walked up to the counter, and I'm translating everything for him. And she goes, well, he has to wait 6 months before he can go for his permit. I tell my dad goes, why? He goes, well, you guys just moved here. Okay. So we have to wait 6 months? She goes, yeah. Okay, I tell my dad's fine. So for the 4 years we lived in Germany, even though my dad got his permit, got his license afterwards, we literally rode our bikes everywhere.
Good old days.
Everywhere. Grocery shopping, anything we did, it was just bicycles.
I'm just going to put this in there. It rains in Germany.
Yeah.
It snows out there.
I know.
And it gets really cold.
And in
sometimes.
August, you only get sunlight for about 3 hours.
There you go.
Literally about 3 hours.
You know what? Reflectors might be good.
It might be, actually.
There
You
you
know, at 5 o'clock, it'd be pitch dark. Beautiful country, though.
I know.
Beautiful country. But, yeah, you know, and then as soon as we moved here to the States, the first thing he did, second week here, third week here, walked into the DMV, got his ID. A month later, got his driver's license. He was the happiest man in the world.
See, I thought he was going to go the other way, just drive the car without the license.
Oh, no. I mean, it's common here, but no.
You know, I just look at it like, you know, and I learned to fly, and I bought my own plane, and no, that sounds like, oh yeah, I wish I could buy my own plane. believe me, it's less than a car, you know. And I bought my own plane, learned to fly, and I never got my license. And it's a joke. I don't really mean it. But like when I talk to other pilots, they're like, well, you were flying. I go, yeah, I was flying everywhere with it, you know. This isn't like there's air police. It isn't like the cops are like, whoop, whoop, you know. And I said, and the other side of it, it's just something they can take away from you. You know, it's like if I don't have it, what are you going to do? You can't take it away from me, you know. So
You still have your plane?
no, I sold it. Planes are like boats, man. They're very expensive.
To maintain.
To maintain, yeah, and you know everything. You got to store it. You got to, you know, it's in when things break. They do frown on, you know, that me working on it. That wasn't, you know, and that's the thing too. It's like, you know, in a car you make a mistake or whatever, and it's like, oh well, you know, pull over. You know, plane and you make a mistake. Yeah, it's a little different. You know, so
Landed on the highway.
Yeah, you know, after him saying that I don't need a license to fly, I think I'm going to get a helicopter.
there you go, man.
We've all been practicing
Helicopters
on Grand Theft
are
Auto.
Yeah.
but the helicopters are difficult. Plane wants to fly. Helicopter doesn't want to fly.
Yeah, I heard the pedals are reversed on. Is that true?
They can be, but no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm being serious. In the A-Star, the rotor goes, and again, I'm not that guy. I can sit in the back, but the rotor goes one direction, so you always have to put in right pedal because it's always pulling to the left. And in an American helicopter, it's the opposite. It's like driving on the other side of the car. You guys want to hear a story? You said you wanted to hear a story.
Absolutely.
You guys want to hear a story? This is a plane story. This isn't a car story. This is a plane story. Okay?
So, okay, next one, you'll give us a car story.
All right, I can give you a car story too. Stu got his plane. It's the time we're gonna go fly, and I'm gonna solo for the first time, right? My pilot, my instructor, God, he's passed away, but this guy to me was a god. He's somebody that everybody knows in the industry. When you say Dave Gibbs, anybody that's, you know, in my little world, they're gonna know, oh man, Dave. So Dave had, I think when we were learning to fly, he had like 13 crashes under his belt. He had gone down like 13 times, and you know, and people would say to me, "It's like, why do you want to have him? You know, the guy, you know, he's had all these problems and stuff." I'm going to tell you why right now. This is the whole story. So go to fly, you know, nice plane, by the way. You know, you guys are car guys, kind of the same deal. It was a restored 1966 Beechcraft Musketeer. And when I say restored, the thing was beautiful. Go to Van Nuys, do my landings and takeoffs, you know, by myself. He gets back into the plane. We go take off. I'm going to give you all the short stuff. I'm not going to do pilot stuff for you. We take off. We're flying back to Whiteman. That's the airport in Pacoima, right? And, you know, you got to climb a little bit. So he's doing, you know, we're doing the checklist. He's, you know, we're all jovial. I'm like, yeah, I just did my, you know, my solo. And we're climbing. And you said about the freeway. So now we're like over the 118. That's how you kind of come into Whiteman, right? And we, you know, it's like 2,200. Like, get it up 2,200 feet. Yeah, okay. Gas on the fullest tank. And I'm just like, yeah. And I look down and I'm like, huh, it's not. I flip the switch, right? Soon as I flip the switch, it's like, da, 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 da. So I flip it back right away. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what was that? And I go, I don't know. And then he goes, all right. And then it's like, da, da, da. That's it. Dead engine, 2,200 feet. We're like paralleling the 118 going into Whiteman. And Dave looks at me and I go, should I try to restart it? And he goes, no. And he's like, what do you want to do? And, you know, I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing the cars driving by and I'm thinking about the freeway. And then I'm looking behind me and Van Nuys is way back there. And this is my thought process. I'm like, I don't want to go back to Van Nuys. And I got to find parking, and I got to pay for parking, and I don't know what's wrong with the plane. And I'm like, I'd like to get back to Whiteman. And he's like, all right, we'll give it a try. He goes, don't declare an emergency. Just get on the radio and find out where we are in the rotation, meaning is there anybody else in the pattern? So I get on there, 567 Sierra, blah, 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 Whiteman Tower. Clear to land. No one in the tower, comes straight in. So now we're dead stick, okay? No engine. The prop, and just so you know, because this is real, if anybody's writing a book, the prop was turning, but it was like doing this. It was like doing the, like slow, and then, like when you, like a lawnmower, it was like, woof. But it was just doing that, right? And when the engine wasn't running. And we're gliding. And I'll do some pilot stuff for you because there might be a pilot out there listening. So we put in full flaps, and my plane, it looks like an emergency brake. So I'm in the left side, he's in the right side. So he reaches down, he pulls in full flaps. So we're dirty. That's what it's called. We're heavy and dirty. So you get a lot of lift, but we're not moving very fast, right? And we're going, and I see the runway, I see the airport. And if you ever been to Whiteman Airport, it's right on San Fernando. And there's like power lines, right, that parallel the airport, the runway. So you got the runway and you got these power lines. And we're coming in at a 90, and I'm looking, and I'm like, Dave, you see the wires, right? And Dave's like, yeah, I see the wires. I'm like, okay. And I'm just watching. And it's like, it doesn't take a fucking genius to figure this out. We're going right for these wires, right? I'm like, Dave, you see the wires, right? He goes, yeah, I see the wires. And he reaches down and he drops the flaps, puts them back to zero. We fall like you feel like a ride at like at Disneyland, and it, like your stomach and it's like I'm like whoa, and we drop, right? He picks up all this extra momentum, throws the freaking flaps back in, pulls the yoke back, and I'm still like in my mind I'm bracing for the wires because I'm thinking the gear is going to hit, tail's going to catch it, and we just porpoise over these wires, right? And we do this, and then we're coming down, and I'm like, we made it, and I'm looking at Dave, and I'm looking out the window, and I see the wing just kind of like, it looks like it's almost like raking because we're doing this hard turn now for the runway, right? So all I see is like dirt and runway, and then he just like levels it off. We land right on the numbers. I mean, like right on the numbers, like perfect. He lets go of the stick, and he's like, your aircraft. and I'm like, 67 Sierra, can we exit on Charlie for fuel? And they're like, Tower's like, yeah, clear to exit on Charlie. We literally rolled off the runway to the fuel pit.
All casually, like
yeah,
like nothing ever happened.
Oh my God, it was the best day of my life.
Now I know why you picked him.
Yeah, and that is the reason right there, because I'm not going to throw out other names of other people, but I've been in situations in the helicopter with other pilots that literally are just like, we'd have a problem and they're like, and I'm sitting in the back, and the one that really comes to mind was like, he's like, oh, we're going to have to put it down in this intersection right there. And I'm like, dude, we El Monte's right there. We just flew over the center of El Monte Airport right there. He's like, oh, okay. And it's like, dude, it's like that's the reason. It's like, you got to stay calm. You got to be in the moment.
You got to have
composure,
icy veins for shit like that.
Man, I don't know about icy veins, but I can tell you, the adrenaline, dude. We got out of that plane. I climbed that guy like a tree. I was so excited. I was just like jumping up and down, and I was just like, whoa! It was like one of the best days of my life.
So what was wrong with the plane?
Ran out of fuel.
Oh, really?
And you know what? Wow. Because this is a podcast, and people are going to be like, oh, this was a bunch of BS. My life is nothing but coincidence and synchronicity, right? So we land, I go to work at that time. This is a long time ago. I was working for NBC. And we go do our thing, and we'd land off base. So we landed, and I tell my pilot everything that happens, right? And he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, right. So we land for fuel at the Van Nuys at Millionaire. And a friend of mine is fueling us, and I tell him the story. And he's like, oh, Gibbs is inside. He's actually in the FBO right now. So I go in, and I see Gibbs, and we're talking, and he's talking to the guy that I bought the plane from. And they just happened, I'm being serious, they happened to run into each other, right? So he's like, oh, Stu, I was just talking to Roger about the thing. And Roger starts talking about, well, he didn't do the restoration, but he kind of vaguely remembers something. And there's this guy that did the restoration. Out of the blue, Roger had not seen this guy in years. He says this guy's name. Somebody in the hallway stops, looks back, and he's like, Roger? And he's like, oh, he goes, dude, this is the guy that built your plane.
About a small
Coincidence, right?
It was all coincidence. It really was. It wasn't planned. And I'm like talking to him, and he's like, oh, man, it was so long ago. It was like, all I remember is that we needed long range senders, and you had short range tanks or vice versa. But he's like, but you know what? Just look at the gas. Just physically look. And I'm like, thanks for letting me know.
Imagine it was just that simple thing. Just look at the gas tank.
Yeah, just look at the gas tank. But yeah, man. So.
And that, if I was in a plane and that, I personally hate flying.
What?
Yes, I hate flying.
I think it's cool.
It's cool.
I flew to Armenia a few years back, and I've done it a few times. And it's roughly about 16 hours one way, and then layover, and then 4 hours the other way. I've been in a plane
for a little brutal.
20 hours standing in the back of the plane the entire time.
Why?
One, I'm too tall because of the seats.
What are you?
6'5".
Okay, you got maybe 2 inches on.
And I always have to get towards the aisle seating,
right, yeah.
so I can just put my feet out there.
Yeah,
but,
and then they complain.
Yeah, and so I'm like, what, screw this. I'll be standing in the back.
First class or business class, just so you could.
Coming back from Armenia, it's easier to get like business class or first class because it's cheaper. But going that way, it's like $8,000 to $10,000. Makes no sense. But I hate flying. Just my 2 cents.
I think it's cool. The takeoff is probably like my favorite part.
Yeah, it is.
And then I fall asleep right afterwards.
Yeah,
I can't
because the air exchanger starts kicking in. You're talking about jetliners, right? Yeah, because the air exchanger kicks in, and then it's like lack of oxygen, and you fall asleep.
Yeah,
I knock out. I take some melatonin. I go to sleep.
Every time. One time I had flying coming from Germany. We were in a Lufthansa.
Yeah.
With 2 stories. I looked out the window. I was like, never again am I going to sit next to a window. Never again.
I don't sit at the window anymore.
Why not?
Because if I have to take a piss, I just go. I just do the aisle seat all the time now.
Yeah.
I don't want to bug people.
All right, back to the show. Anyways,
Back to the show.
We're not going to talk
It's
about
not part of the
fears.
show?
Yeah.
Talking about our airplane.
Well, no, my fears is not part of the show. I hate airplanes. Just saying. So,
You should take them up in a helicopter one day. See what
Yeah.
I'll be down for that.
See?
Helicopters are fun for me. I've done helicopter rides in
I've never been
Miami
in a
all the time.
helicopter before.
My wife and I went to Miami, and we took one of those helicopter tours. That was the shakiest helicopter I've ever been in.
What was it, like a 44? Was it a piston engine or a jet engine?
I think it was
How did it sound?
Yeah.
sounded like a rotary engine to me.
Okay, then it probably was a piston engine.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, no, not fun.
No.
But your top 3 chases.
Everybody asks me that. I get that a lot. I don't really have favorites. I can watch something every now and then and be like, oh man, that was really cool. Sometimes I like them when they're challenging. Back in the day when we were working nights, I would see, like, you're in the helicopter and you're trying to talk to the people at the station, and believe me, they're not ready to cut in at any moment. They're supposed to be, but it's a process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were going to something, and the producer's name is Courtney, and she was, she saw that I could see, like, way out in the darkness, you'd see the reds and blues, and she's like, all right, I see it. We're coming to you. And I'm like, we're not even close. What do you, it's like, and she's like, yeah, okay, well, you got a couple of seconds. And it literally was a couple of seconds. And we had to fly to it. And I had to keep it, I had to hope the pilot was paying attention. It probably was Brennan or somebody. So he probably was. But yeah, I like things like that. I love it when, like, a tire comes off and you get that rooster tail of sparks. That's always really cool at night. I love that stuff. I love it when they push the vehicles to the limit. Those are some of my favorites. I don't like seeing anybody get hurt. That's a given. But, you know, like when like there was one recently during the day, and it was that 7 Series BMW, and they just, that car, I mean, they destroyed it, but it just kept going. You know what I mean? It was like missing a tire and, you know, grinding against the ground, and like parts are falling off. It's like it probably didn't have a straight piece of sheet metal on it anymore. And they just kept going, you know, and that car just kept going. And I'm just like, yeah, that's
cool.
cool.
A chase.
Yeah.
What's the longest chase you've been? I know you mentioned earlier you guys had to actually refuel at one point. How long did that one take?
That one probably was 4 hours, maybe more. That was a big deal. That was during Carmageddon. And yeah, we went all over. I mean, literally all over. Like we went, you know, in Inland Empire, Orange County, LA. I mean, this thing just went and went and went. And if you ask me how it ended, I really don't remember. I don't think it was anything spectacular. When they crash, I always worry. There's no BS about that. I always worry when there's a crash. But, you know, yeah, I like seeing how the cops try to stop them. I always find that to be really interesting because, you know, think about it. That's really difficult, you know. I remember there was like a little bit of time where people started getting involved, like trying to stop the pursuits themselves. And I was always thinking to myself, how are you going to talk to your insurance company about that? What are you going to say? Oh, I rammed this guy. You know, it's like, you know.
You want to see proof? Look at the news.
Yeah, but still, it's like you're basically saying, I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the insurance company would say, we're not paying for that.
Yeah, we're not paying for that. You know, and then I feel bad for that guy. It's like, I am like looking at that. I ain't got an extra $5,000 laying around. So, you know, but what is your favorite pursuit?
I think it was this is about 2 months ago.
Oh, so it's recent.
It was funny because we were at work, and this was somewhere in Van Nuys, I think it was. No, Whittier.
Okay.
Whittier area. And then one of the employees or coworkers, he comes up, he goes, hey, watch this. I go, what's up? Calls his sister's outside, I guess, by their house. And she goes, look up at the camera. Literally, the camera was on top of their house, and she's waving at the camera.
Nice.
And yeah, but I guess the guy literally crashed into another oncoming car, blew his tire, and then crashed into a pole.
Oh.
I think. But I mean, there's a lot of car chases here.
Yeah, there are.
What's the fastest you guys have gone?
We've gotten up there. I haven't had one of those ones like where it's a Hellcat or anything like that, or a nice vet. But we've gotten to the point. I remember motorcycles got up to like 150, you know, and the helicopter tops out about 143, something right in there. That's pretty much that's about as fast as we'll go. But yeah, we had a couple of motorcycles. I had a motorcycle one that I tell the story a lot, but it's one of those ones. It's like you watch this stuff. Motorcycle, they're chasing him. He's doing all this crazy. Got a girl on the back, and he is zipping in and out. We're on the 60. We're coming up to Hacienda Heights, and he just touches another, like just bumps the bumper, and the bike just like spins.
With somebody in the back?
Yeah, two of them. Well, it was him and the driver and this woman. And they go flying like rag dolls, right? And these guys are going 80, 90 miles an hour when this happens, right? Bumped in like top to six, probably got somebody going 60, 65. And I'm thinking for sure they're dead, and it's like I'm watching this, and they hit the ground, and they don't just hit the ground, they hit the ground and slide, both of them, right? And then I'm thinking, great, now they're going to get tagged by a car. The dude gets up. And I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be adrenaline. This has got to be shock, on the freeway. And then goes like, kind of like, he's disoriented, and he picks up his shoe and starts putting on his shoe while he's like hopping along, and he's going over to the girl. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be tragic. And gets over to the girl, and she's like ragdolling, and he's like trying to pick her up. And I'm like, oh my God. And then she comes to. And they're both, they're not dead. I found out later on they were pretty seriously hurt, but they're not dead. You know what I mean?
That's all.
You know, and they're not cripples for life. I mean, they probably had some broken bones and some really bad bruising, but I was just like, holy, it's like, you know, they lived.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as, I mean, they were hurt. I was going to say as long as they weren't hurt, but they were hurt.
Stolen bike.
Ugh. Bikes are easy to steal.
Stolen bike, and I remember the station went and found it because they returned it to the guy. They made a big deal out of it, and they showed it, and they had wired in a like a light switch to turn on and off the bike, and I'm just
awesome.
like,
Geniuses.
I'm just like
I'd give them props for that one.
Just a light switch.
a light
That's
switch.
cool.
I mean,
My key.
they have that thing on Amazon nowadays, Flipper or whatever it's called. Like literally, you can copy your key and start
Really?
your car.
Oh, I want one of those.
I would put a switch where you just clap and it turns on. No,
Tesla.
But I was going to say, but if you have your Tesla, how do you know it's on?
I didn't. You know, the funny thing is, like when I got it, I didn't do the whole tutorial. I'm like, how do you turn this thing on? I pressed on the brake by accident. I'm like, okay, I guess this is how it goes.
Brake or gas?
No, the brake. Put it in the gear, like the kind.
Oh, to put it in the gear. I thought you meant like you pressed the gas and it went.
No, I was just like, how does this thing work?
So what do you guys think of the tech? What do you think of tech? Cars and tech. What do you think? All about it, not about it?
Look, I have so right now Tesla gave everybody like the full self-driving trial. I can't get myself to do it. I did it once and it's too weird for me. Like
I've done it.
I know, like I tried it because I wanted to be able to say I did it, but letting go of and just letting the car do its thing, I can't.
I
The
did it
trust
on the
isn't there
Model
for me.
S 3 months ago. It was a trade-in we took. It's a little weird, but
It's cool, the concept.
I can't trust it.
Yeah,
It's cool to have
Right.
a certain, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, you're on a long trip and you have a kid in the back and you need to let go of the wheel for a second.
or you got
It's
to
cool
send a
to
long
have.
message. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know about a message, but yeah, I mean, like, if your kid is, you know, crying and needs something, drop the water
Yeah,
or
you
something.
gotta,
That's
you gotta
cool.
smack them. You know?
Go to the back seat, relax.
Yeah, I've seen those too, like where they turn it
People are
on and go to the
sleeping
back
and
of the
everything, yeah.
car and sleep. Yeah, I don't know about all that.
I mean, like I said, I think it's cool that they were able to produce it. Literally just put your address in, it's autopilot, boom.
What do you think?
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I say it. I mean it. I'm still longing for the day where an older version of me gets off of work, gets in my and it's kind of odd too. It's you know, I want a Cadillac. You know, I want an American car that's electric, and just kind of get in and say, you know, take me home, quickest route, play me some YouTube. You know, let me catch up on my, you know, whatever. Grand Tour, whatever, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and just drive, just let the car take me home.
I could see that.
I mean, I'm all about driving. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love to drive. I mean, I really do. That's like one of my favorite things. But, you know, it's...
Sometimes you're just tired and want to just relax on the road.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. That technology is always a good thing. I mean, no matter what you do, look at our phones from the very first iPhone to the iPhones that we have now, or Androids or whatever it is, right? Computers, laptops, even the new, what is it, Apple Vision.
But I'm also talking about like the tech that goes into the engines, you know, and I'm not just talking about engineering. I'm talking about, you know, the variable timing. Like you have like all this stuff now. I mean, I can remember when it was a floating cam, but now I guess, you know, that's the only thing that they really haven't done yet on an engine is actually make the valves all electric that are, you know, totally independent of a cam, you know, where they could, you know, just put them on like little servo motors or little magnetic motors where you don't even need a cam anymore.
I mean, for our cars, as far as technology goes like that, you know, tuning the car itself, technology has helped us a lot. It has benefits depending on where you live, of course. In California, it's frowned upon. Most states, it's frowned upon. But I think no matter what you do, you're always going to advance. And the states themselves need to be able to advance with it. You know, people like myself, people like Caesar, we live by our cars. Don't get me wrong. We have families, right?
Right.
So these cars are our hobbies and whatnot. But, I got to be careful on how I say this because we have certain guests that do frown upon stuff like that, but don't at the same time. But to be able to modify my vehicle is my hobby.
Right.
My property, I should be able to do what I want with it.
I agree 100%.
For a state to be able to tell me that I can't touch my car in any way, I think is wrong.
I agree.
You gotta
So-
keep it stock boys.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
not gonna happen. But I'm all up for technology because at the end of the day, it's helped us to be able to take our cars to a limit that the manufacturer wouldn't do.
Right. No, I hear you.
Don't get me wrong. I don't have the money to go buy a $180,000 supercar, but you can make a $60,000 car with $20,000 in parts, make a Ferrari look like a Camry.
Yeah.
So technology is a plus for me.
No, I'm talking about like how, in the old days you just had, you open the hood and everything,
Camshafts.
everything was analog. That's the best way to put it. Everything, every part in there was mechanical. I mean, they still are kind of mechanical, but there's like this whole electronic influence, that they control your timing. They control, like cars, I come from distributors, what I'm saying, with dual points. And I was in that generation when it was the Mallory Unilite, I think it was. And Ez was like, oh my God, it works on light. There was like a little light in there, and it was like basically it just was like it would spin, but instead of having points, it was like it just broke the beam, and that's how it knew to send the spark. And then it was but that was like I said, I'm with you. I think all the technology is amazing. That's what I was just kind of curious what you were gonna say. But when you brought up that stuff about not being able to modify your car, I'm not on board with that. I'm sorry. And even if you have, if anybody, I don't care what the reason is. If you're going to come at me for global warming, I'm going to scoff. If you're going to come at me for, emissions, the reality is, like you said, this is my car. This is my hobby. As long as, you aren't doing anything that's beyond annoying or upsetting.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't understand. I really don't understand the loud muffler. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's like, I live in downtown.
Mufflers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, did somebody steal your catalytic converter? What's going on there, man? It's like,
we took
it's
them
like,
off.
yeah, it's, but these are the things. It's like I don't understand where they're coming from, where they can say and actually enforce laws like that. I'm being serious about that.
I mean, we've given these groups of people, politicians, to be able to make those decisions on our behalf. In the old days, they couldn't make a decision without the people's knowledge of it, as far as
Right.
I know. But now they just go about and do about whatever they want to do.
Right.
But we're not here to talk politics, even though majority of it is politics. But
It's all politics.
It's all
man.
politics.
We just want to have fun with their cars.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is, sorry, we're coming due to our time, about
Okay.
10, 15 minutes. But, one thing I do want to say is, car enthusiasts like myself and Caesar, and from my understanding, you're a car enthusiast
I
yourself.
am.
Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter where you drive, an American, German, Japanese, whatever, Italian. Doesn't matter to me. If you're a car enthusiast, you're a car enthusiast. But one thing I don't like is, and this is in no way, shape, or form towards you. When media talks about street takeovers and they show these cars.
You know what? I'm not going to cut you off, but I am going to cut you off. That, Jeremy and I talked about that too. It's like what infuriates me is like they'll be like, young kid was killed during street racing, and then they cut, you're like, oh man, what was he driving? And it's like this 4-door Camry, or like the
Highly modified 4-door Camry.
It's not even highly modified.
No, that's what they say.
But it's not, though. And
I know.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, what defines street racing? How are you, you can't just throw adjectives around like that when you have no idea what you're talking about. I remember they had another one, was also street racing, and it was like this PT Cruiser, and then we found out later on that they were being chased by the ex-boyfriend or something. It was a story we covered, or I covered. But yeah, it's. And then the street takeovers, I agree 100%. I've been to some of those. Marcel and I will go out stringing every now and then. We're not really stringing. We pretend like we're stringing like we used to in the olden days. But street takeovers are low-hanging fruit for us because you can get there and they'll still be going on. And, that was the thing. It's like Marcel was making a joke with me afterwards. He's like, dude, I'm surprised they didn't jump you for thinking you were a narc. And because, here comes this old grizzly, white dude, and plus I'm a little taller than most. And, I'm walking around and, I'm the only white guy there. I'm going to say it. I don't mean it in any kind of crappy way, but, I'm standing out. I stand out in the crowd. But I think it was the same thing. It's like, I'm not there to judge. I was just there to watch. I was judging. But,
we're always judging those
but it's like, these guys are inhaling NOS, driving around, doing these donuts, and what's going through my mind is like, who's got the money for those tires? Who's going to, you know what I mean? It's like, isn't your mom going to be mad when you bring this thing home? It's like, because that's what it is. That's what the difference is. It's like you, Caesar, myself, Jeremy, real car guys. We love our cars,
yep.
Right? And we put them together and we build them and we take care of them. And yes, we do. You do the crazy burnouts. You do the donuts every now and then. But, that's the thing. That's not the only thing you do with it, right? And what's going on there is just straight out, is from a car guy's point of view, probably to most normal people, you're not going to understand this, but all I'm seeing is abuse of a vehicle, abuse of a machine. You're destroying a machine, purposely destroying it.
See how far we could go with our tires.
Right.
Go boom.
Right. And that's what's not cool, and that's not a car culture. Car culture, we care. Yep. We care. So
we do.
And it's something that we talk about all the time because it's like them doing all that stuff just puts a target on us.
Yeah.
We can't even drive our cars basically.
Yeah.
Without,
yeah. Like I was saying,
scared all the time.
News outlets out there, they'll be like, highly modified this and this and that. You're looking at the car. It's
got some Pep Boy stickers on it and a
muffler delete.
Chrome parts.
The chrome tip on the edge of the stock muffler.
And it's like, where did you get this information from? Like,
yeah.
But the sad thing is, what I'm trying to say is, the people that are watching those channels see people like myself driving in a nice car, modified, thinking all of a sudden I'm part of that. I'm not.
This is something else that it's kind of a little bit of a life lesson too. It's like you never project. You never project what you think other people think of you. You know what I mean? I just said that I was making those jokes about, me walking around the only white guy there. But that's the thing. It's like, that was after the fact. I was back in the van and we were talking and I was like, oh yeah, I did. Cause I never think that, you know what I mean? And nobody should think that. I'm just letting you know, you should never think somebody's judging you because they're probably not, that's the other side of it. They're probably not. And if somebody's looking at you, chances are they're probably, hey, that's a nice ride, or that's catching their eye. I don't think it doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative.
Oh, no, I'm not saying not always, but, here in the city of Glendale, I work in Glendale, so don't get me wrong. 90% of the cops are nice, but, there is always that one fun part.
We've had the police officers on the episode. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. We get Glendale PD here once in a while.
Awesome.
So it's fun.
To get the inside scoop.
Inside scoop. What's going on?
You know how, what they really think, how they feel about it.
I know a Glendale officer. I really do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably know more than one.
No, I think I only know one. Yeah, Brendan. His name's Brendan. He's I think he was like Metro K9, like last. They move around, they do stuff, but yeah.
Well, Stu, I want to thank you for stopping by.
I feel like we should have done more content, man.
It's okay. We can always bring you back if you're up for it.
No, man. I wanna hang out with, like, if you guys ever have like a car show.
Absolutely.
You know,
We have one coming up.
Yeah. I'll bring the Jeep, man. You
Absolutely.
Guys will
We'll
just be
take
blown
it.
away.
Park it
We'll
with
take
us.
it.
Yeah.
Save you a spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't own the spot, so we're thankful enough for Simon allowing us to be here. So
We got to wrap it, right? You guys, we're done? All
yes, sir.
All right.
But we'll bring you back if you...
Dude, anytime. I'm serious. You guys are super chill.
Appreciate that.
Nice place.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
We appreciate you coming by.
man, I just wish we had more. I wish I would have been more entertaining.
You are in.
Caesar's like falling asleep over there.
See, that's him 24/7.
Oh, okay.
It's almost my bedtime. That's
I
why
was going to say.
I wake up early too.
Yeah.
Not as early as you, but
I was going to say, this is
Not as
past
early
my
as you.
bedtime. I'm almost an hour past my bedtime. My phone is like, dude,
I'll be
what are you
hearing
doing?
you tomorrow in the morning yawning up a
Yeah,
storm.
I'll be calling you guys out.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening in. Thank you again, Straight Outta Body Shop. And make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share this video. See you guys on the next one.
Love the love.
Love the
Peace.
Till next time. Bye, Mom.